Hello and welcome to this week's Top 25 Power Rankings, where we're going to look at the top 25 teams in Lol Esports, using a bit of algorithm as well as the eye test. When it comes to major regions, I mostly use eye test, but I do reference stats from time to time. Um, Minor regions, not many make the list. I use an algorithm for minor regions specifically because there's no way in hell I can watch all regions play, so I just focus on major regions, and minor regions are left to the side, and I just look at the stats from the games and try and rank them based on international performances against each other and things like that, and then, domestic results now, compare that to international results in the past, and try and figure out the hierarchy. So minor region power rankings come out Thursday. There are a few minor region teams on here that have not played yet, because the PCS and BCS usually are competitive. First and foremost, though, we are going to knock out a few things. First, the following teams are not on this list. They are dropped out. That includes TL, HLE, and DRX. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, HLE's players on paper are top 25, as are DRX's. But are they getting the job done? No. So, until they learn how to play League of Legends, that's where they are. Koi is out. And Red are out. Red Cannons. Red Cannons continue to do well, but now that Japan has played, Red is no longer the top-ranked minor region team. Technically, that is Sengoku Gaming right now. So that may change by Thursday. By the way, Latin America plays Wednesday and Thursday. So with that in mind, those 5 teams are out from last week. Let's get started with who is in this week. 25th is Rare Atom. They are 2-0. They are the lucky ones to already have played. I'm going to put a new here. They played yesterday, so they're 2-0. They beat Ninjas in Pajamas, so they beat them 2-0 in a series that Nip probably should have won. But nevertheless, 2-0 gets you on this list right now in the LPL. I mean, the LPL is the second strongest region in the world behind the LCK, and they're like, the 8th team or so ranked on this list probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're 9th. Yeah, I mean, I swapped out an LCS team. There's situations, things going on here. So, Rare Atom 25th. 24th, CFO. There isn't really much to say. They drop one spot. They're just going to waver in here because this week the PCS does finally get into the action, I believe, on Friday. So next week we will have something to reference with PCS, and we'll see if a PCS team even is on the board. I mean, it's possible that if they're, all mediocre, cannibalizing themselves, then they won't be on the list because of stat reasons. Mad Lions are 23rd, dropping one spot. Mad, and I say it in my streams, if you, I don't have anything else I have to write down. On my streams, I've said live views, Mad are a team that beats you if you're not at your best, right? So Mad and Koi are similar in this way. I think they're like 100 Thieves almost in the LCS. Like if you, and Bro even for that matter, which just shows how good the LCK is. If you don't play at your best, they will beat you. They'll take advantage of your mistakes. But if you play good and you don't screw up too much, Mad's gonna win. Mad's gonna lose, and that's what happened. BDS beat them. BDS were able to find a way to win in a clean fashion after a couple bumpy roads. And Mad, beat XL and Koi. So Koi drops out because Mad beat them. A few teams have beat them. As Koi really, tumbled off the board this week. 22nd is Brion, my favorite team. They're 2-2, new to the power rankings. If you follow along with me for a while, you know that this was painful to do, but they lost to Gen.g and Sandbox this week, but statistically they are looking very good, so it's hard to keep them off of the board, especially with DRX and HLE coming off. The top 6 LCK teams need to be on here in some way, especially after the 6th seed just won Worlds, right? Do I think Bro's a Worlds contending team? No. I think HLE figures it out eventually. But Bro were able to go to 3 games against Sandbox. Sandbox has showed the ability to do very well. Morgan is kind of doing his thing for Bro. I think Umpty's playing fabulous. I think he feels the pressure from them really going with Raptor and thinking they weren't going to get Umpty back. Umpty almost, I mean, I don't know if he came crawling back, probably not, but at the same time, he had no offers anywhere else. You see Onfleek and others able to go to like Latin America and CB and such, so he must not have had minor region offers returned to the LCK and is doing okay for Bro. Henna in an effort, also doing okay effort, maybe finally finding his way after, a rough year with Nongshim. 21st, we have Gam, who drops one spot from VCS. Our resident VCS aficionado, J-Beast, leaves a little bit of a murky cloud over when VCS might start. I know that, they don't know when VCS was going to start as of like last week. So with that in mind, next week I may just pull CNJ and GAM off of this list. Yes, CNJ is on here, spoiler alert. And just go with the flow until they finally play. But for right now, we'll leave them on there. 20th is Sandbox, 3-1. They're new to their power rankings. They beat Bro and KT. KT is still above them. I'm gonna have to reconcile that when I get there. But Sandbox have done well. Envy and Cal have done fabulous. Cal especially. Prince leaves, and we've been saying all along, is it Prince or was it Cal that made that bot lane go? And it looks like maybe both. Prince started off the split well. We'll get into that. FlyQuest is on the board still. And Cal has done well with Envy, a player that could not make it with Sandbox last year when they originally gave him a go. Willer is playing good, finally getting an opportunity after a year on the bench. A lot of people giving him a lot of crap after having what many would consider, a sus 2021, but he was 18 years old, 17 years old, so a redemption arc for him. 19th is BDS at 4-2. They're new to the power rankings. BDS beat Fnatic, Astralis, and Mad Lions. Two of those wins having a lot to do with Adam. So Adam is really setting the tone for them. Crowny is also doing a fabulous job. Crowny's KDA is outstanding, if I recall. And Adam, you give him the Darius or the Olaf, he's going to give you problems. Sheo knows to go to top lane to get him ahead. So the rookie's doing his job. Adam's doing his. Nuke still leaves a little bit on the table, but then again, he could be just being overshadowed by these other players. And BDS, one of a couple teams in the LEC that have really stepped it up in a big way and surprised many people, including myself. 18th, CNJ. CNJ have not moved. Formerly Saigon Buffalo. We know this is the team of Hazmed, Bean J, Froggy, Shogun, and Taki. So that team still hasn't played yet. Like I said, if they don't play this week, I am dropping them off the board. No more minor region teams in this one, so I'll put that back. EDG 17th, moving up one spot. They didn't play. They just the nature of the beast. They move up one spot. There's not much to talk about with most of these LPL teams because the LPL just returned to action, and the first 2 days of games had nobody on this list besides, the team I put on here playing. So there's really not much to say about them. They're just kind of where they are. I tried not to move them too much because really it doesn't, it's hard to move a team that hasn't played, right? Like what reasoning do you have to move a team that hasn't played? Like you have to almost explain it with who you moved above them or below them. G2 16th, dropping 7 spots. This is the big drop of the biggest drop of the power rankings. Smoked Heretics on Saturday, the second quickest game in LEC history. However, they did lose to SK and Vitality, and not in a good way either. The Vitality game was a complete blowout, and it was unfortunate because you really were expecting a lot out of G2. I don't know. I didn't like the Udyr pick. I really didn't. I'm starting to have a little bit of a concern with Yike not playing dogs. I think that he can play the carries very well, but the fact is, Maokai was up on both sides. I wasn't surprised Bo didn't take it because Bo didn't look that well on it both times. His Vi may be better than his Maokai outright, but I would take Maokai over Vi if all things are equal. So Yike not taking that was kind of concerning in the first phase. Then they ban it in the second phase, which is smart by Vitality. But same time, G2 should have taken it. Um, and it's just I don't know. This is G2 things, right? Like I said in my stream when they lost to SK, I'm like, this is G2, and everybody agrees this is G2. Like they start looking really, really good, and then they just like lose a couple games. It makes you like be like, what happened? Happens every year. Last year I kept them up here for a long time, despite actually I think I kept them in the top 25 in summer, despite struggling for a very long time, and statistically they shouldn't have been on there. And I think that's right now that's kind of the deal here. That statistically they're looking okay, but win-loss wise they are not. Speaking of SK, they're 15th. They're the biggest mover of the week, new to the power rankings and moving up to 15th. Went 3-0, G2, Vitality, and Koi. Three of the teams that we expected. I had those three teams as the three teams that I thought were guaranteed to go to Worlds. Now, way too early predictions. That's what happens with way too early predictions. I think it is what it is. Way too early predictions, right? And Koi not looking that good right now, but then again, we're projecting 9 months from now. I give that about as much as, I give that as much credence as toilet paper. But either way, SK are looking really good. Exakick is playing fabulous League of Legends. I am definitely an Exakick fan. I think that he is really proving himself at a high level. And Doss is playing solid. Certus has finally got players around him that are decent. Marcoon's Elise is a must ban. Marcoon's Elise reminds me a lot of his Volibear. I said it in the roundups. I've said it on stream. And now it's a must ban. And even then yesterday, they got it done with the Sejuani. It was more so the bot lane. Despite Lucian and Nami being split up from them, they were able to go Lucian Yumi and do well. Irrelevant is still kind of an issue. If he remains irrelevant, they're fine. And that's a pun, but at the same time, I believe I've said it on stream. I want to make sure I'm not streaming, am I? Good, I'm not. That would have been ironic. And kind of late to figure that out, right? The way I view it, if he is relevant right now, the way he has been playing, it's because he's dying a lot or he's making mistakes. And if he stays irrelevant, like against who'd they play yesterday? Looking at the board here, they played Koi. Midway through the game, on Gnar, he was leading the game in damage. And I'm like, I haven't really noticed him all that much. That's what I want out of irrelevant. That's what I want. 14th, LNG moving up a few spots, bumping them up above these two teams. Pretty much bumping them above G2, and I don't think... in the grand schemes of hypothetical cross regional play, I would take Tarzan and Scout over Certus and Marcoon. So, that's just projecting a lot, but nevertheless. 13th, we have C9, 2-0. Some people may be like, why are C9... What? Second biggest mover, up 8 spots from 21st. People might say, why are they moving up above SK and G2 and this and that? I'm like, the K'Sante, I don't think we've seen a better K'Sante than we saw out of Fudge across all 4 major regions thus far. Like, Eevee's K'Sante has been good, but he's also being solo killed, like, by Finn and, oh, geez, he was solo killed by someone else this week, wasn't he? Regardless, Eevee's done very well. That's not the, I'm not crapping on Eevee. But the fact is, Fudge's K'Sante is absolutely disgusting. I think Blabber is doing his job. Diplex did well in the second game. Berserker is Berserker, and Sven has been solid. So C9 or 13th. I don't really project LCS teams into this row. I really don't want to project any LEC teams in there. G2 are being crowned 2019 G2 Part 2, but I thought that was kind of premature. And hopefully no one put money behind their words, because then they'd be broke today. They bet their house and they're homeless. But that's usually the decider of whether you actually mean what you say. 12th is IG. 2-0. They haven't played yet. They play EDG tomorrow. So in my roundup, I'm going to talk about that later today. They're moving up one spot. YSKM is disgusting, so he gets to be 12th. On and Wink also playing well in bot lane. Dove on the cast didn't look good. I mean, Dove is a limited player, but I don't recall a lot of his mid in 2021. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're comparing it to right now, right? And Gideon is just doing his thing. I mean, Gideon hasn't really actively screwed them over yet. 11th is Vitality, not moving at all. They are 5-1. Escaping the game against Astralis was massive, and they lost SK and then beat G2, right? So the deal is with this, and you look at these three teams, Vitality, SK, and G2, and Vitality and G2 both lost SK, so this is relevant, and I said it on stream, and you listen to what Kaiser had to say, after they beat Astralis. It was something to the effect of, because the fifth ban was Aurelion Sol, and they said, why'd you do that? And they're like, well, he pretty much said we didn't prep enough. And that makes a lot of sense. So, makes a lot of sense because LEC are in a new format where you play 3 games, they have an off day, and you have 3 days to prepare for 3 opponents, where in the past you had 4 days to prepare for 2. So, a lot of things are different now. So the way you prep is different. The way you scrim has to be different. How many different things are you trying? How many opponents are you preparing for? So Vitality almost losing to Astralis, in my opinion, with the lack of bans there, I think that was we think we can hands diff them outright without preparation. And they did. They won. But it was bumpy. And then against SK, they lost. Right? And SK are a better team than Astralis. SK, obviously, they're on here, and Astralis isn't, right? And Astralis are 1-5 and could be out of they're not going to move to the second round. So Vitality probably preparing for G2. G2 probably preparing for Vitality and overlooking their other opponents is what I'm thinking happened. G2 outright just crushing Heretics was just whatever. That just happened. But Vitality being G2 is a big thing, right? That just showed that their prep, what they prepared for, worked out for them. So that's kind of the deal with that. 10th is Fly. I mean, this is where people are gonna get upset because I have Fly above Vitality, but I don't really. Vitality's bot lane has kind of shown a little bit of madness to it. Bo is obviously cracked. Bo is is better than Spica. Photon is better than Impact. Vikla versus Perks. I mean, Vikla looked good this past week. Even in the game that he didn't have any kills, he looked good. People are saying he looked like the best player on the rip. Prince has looked absolutely as advertised. It's only 2 games, so that's what's going to happen, right? We have 2 games to go off of for Fly. Oops, I didn't put that they moved up 2 spots. So what is this saying? It's too early, really, to tell. I had Fly as the best Western team going into the year. Fly have now played games. They leapfrog Vitality again because Fly beat TL, and TL are supposed to be really good, and people thought that TL would be fantastic, and they're not. That's why they're off the board. Really concerning. Really, really concerning. 9th place is KT, dropping 3 spots. This is tough because really, so they're 2-2. They're 2-2. They lost to Sandbox. They beat HLE. That win against HLE is a big deal, right? Because we had KT and HLE. Which team is inting more? Because, KT had some int going on. Cuz, especially, missing 4 straight smites, which is something I don't think I've ever remember seeing before. So, why are they still 9th? Because, Sandbox are way over here. Sandbox beat them. So, where does this all kind of work out? I just mentally cannot see, outside of maybe EDG, when I look at the Eastern teams, right? Western teams, I don't think have shown me enough to move to 9th. I mean, I could have, I guess, bumped Fly and then Vitality and maybe moved KT down to 11th. Maybe. Maybe. But I have a tough time putting IG above them, LNG. I have a tough time putting these teams above KT. On paper, KT is very good. Banking on them figuring it out, I guess. I think that they figure it out. Cuz is a problem, though. Not as bad as Clid, but still a bit of a problem. So that's kind of the thing. Where do you move them? How far do you move them down? I can't reconcile putting Sandbox above these guys. I really can't. I can't yet. Sandbox are going to have to do a lot of work, I guess, to kind of prove themselves to me, which is unfair to them, but regardless. 7th and 8th are RNG and BLG, so there's not much to really say here. RNG play LNG tomorrow, so tomorrow's slate of games, if you're going to, should watch the roundup today. 3 of the 4 series tomorrow have 2 teams in this top 25. 2 of them we haven't even gotten to yet, but it'll be 7th versus 14th and 12th versus 17th in the LPL at the very least, which is going to be good. So both those teams move up 1. They're moving over KT pretty much. 6th is Gen G, moving up 1 spot. They're 3-1. As Pays continues to do work. Doran kind of struggled against King in a bit. In laning phase, which I give a lot of credence to. HLE and Bro, though, could not beat Gen G. Gen G proving themselves to still be one of the best teams in the LCK for sure. Peanut's doing a lot of work on the Wukong. He's looking very good on the Maokai. We'll see how the meta may shift. The incoming patch, obviously 13.1b, the Yuumi nerfs. We have 13.2 where we have the ADC changes, but then at 13.3, there are a lot of support changes going on. So we may see the meta really shift over the next month here. And this board is going to be all over the place as well. Because we're going to find out how this changes. The supports are going to change. So the ripple effect is going to be felt around the rift there. All of a sudden jungle may not have to be as much of a facilitator with hard CC because you have Nautilus and Leona and things like that at support. Maybe it frees them up. We'll see what happens in top lane. We've seen a little bit of Ornn this past week. And Ornn, the way the meta is right now with how long games are taking, Ornn is a good pick. People aren't picking it, but the majority of games are going 30 minutes, 35 minutes, some even 40 plus, and that was where Ornn is going to be very valuable. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see more Ornn, which I know some people won't like. Ornn isn't a flashy pick, but it is a pick. These 3 stay the same. We have JDG, Top, and Weibo moving up 1 spot. Oh no, they don't move up 1 spot. So Top are 1-1. Just want to make sure I just hit this cord. Am I still? Yeah, I can still hear me. Good. I didn't want to finish this video and then find out that the audio was scuffed at the end. I would have had to give it to you the way it is. I know my handwriting is dog. My handwriting is dog. Okay. Because I'm obviously the angle or whatever, in addition to it being dog. Second, we have D+, right? So D+ lost to T1 in 3 games in a case where Keria literally just was like, hey guys, Callista support, how about it? And D+ had an early lead and then blew it. D+, I mean, the game they won, they gave up a big Baron play, but outside of those few minutes, they played very well. Canyon is doing his job at a high level. He's playing fantastic. Deft and Kellen doing their job. Showmaker's just kind of going with the flow. And Kana as well. So, right now, it's hard to really bump them down. They lost to T1. So this is the deal here. So we're just going to talk about these 2 together because, well, they played against each other, right? Right, so the way I do this, and if you're new here, if you lose to a team around you in the power rankings, all it tells me is, okay, you're not on the level of this team. But if you're here and you lose to your team up here, that does not mean you're worse than these guys. That just means you're worse than them right now. Or if you lose to a team above you, it just tells me, okay, you're not there yet. Or you might never be there. But if you lose to someone below you, now it's like, okay, well, you're losing to someone below you now. If D+ loses to Nongshim instead of T1, or loses to both, D+ are going to be moving down because losing to Nongshim is in the 26 to 30 range right now. But they didn't. So they're second. Canyon's doing well. Def's doing well, 3-1, doing work. T1 beat the Freaks and beat D+. They are playing absolutely disgusting right now, and disgusting in multiple ways, as in they're very good, and their drafts are we're just throwing random crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. And right now it's all sticking. And I said going into the D Plus series, I'm like, we have a situation where they are very confident and they're willing to try everything. And it may be to their detriment. I mean, you may try something and lose a game. And trying Callista support in game 3 is a big deal. That's that series is on the line. You're not like, that's a big deal. And Carrier pulled it out. Not even to say the Callista looked good. It's the fact that he did it. Carrier is the best player in the world right now, in my opinion. And I've been a Chovy supporter for years. And he still is the second best player. But Carrier is pulling out champions that honestly don't belong at support. And we're saying like, oh, well, 80 carries are being picked there. Yeah, they are. But who has picked Callista support this year? Okay, some people pick Caitlyn. Since Carrier has picked Caitlyn. How about the Camille Lee Sin Sejuani supports last year? Like, the guy will pick anything. And the fact that Buzio picked up Azir support this past weekend, do not think that T1 and Carrier at least has played a couple solo queue games of Azir support, regardless of if the fact that just to see, is this viable or not? Like, the guy has no out of bounds when it comes to his picks, and that is a scary thing, to the point where when you are against T1, it's almost not worthwhile to waste a ban against Carrier. Like, you ban what clearly is above and beyond the best, right? But once you get to a point where it's like, well, he could just pick anything here, he has a counter. So we'll ban his best counter, but after that, he's just going to pick something else, and it's not going to make a difference. It's hard to really prepare for a player like that. It's hard to prepare for T1 right now. Are they the cleanest? No, but that's because it was the way they're drafting and the way they're playing the game. They are in coast mode right now, just trying things out and winning games, experimenting, which is something to behold. So, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. If you want to post your comments below, do so. Join the Discord. On the extra contents tab, I am going to post the full power rankings, 1 through whatever. Keep in mind, everything after 25 is stat-based. I'm not ranking those teams, except the LPL. The issue is the LPL, statistically, I can't get the same stats for. So actually, I plug in the LPL after I'm done. Like, after I've ranked the teams like this. Not talking about this. 26 through X. I fill in the LPL as I go along, like where should this team be, and so on and so forth. So, that's how that goes. But like I said, join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, become a YouTube member. $3 a month supports me. $10 a month will get you my predictions. I'm like 50 and 27 now. Today was bad. We've had a couple bad days in a row. So that's a thing. We're 51 and 27. I'll have it on the roundup. But nevertheless, thank you for watching, and I hope you come back for more content.